But it wasn't really until I got into college after that live band showcase in high school to where I was like, all right, maybe I should try and start singing with this too. And I put two and two together, hired a vocal coach, and eventually I found myself sitting at my dorm room desk, and I had a physics problem set in front of me and my guitar on my lap. And mentally, I was like, I have to pick one, and because I'm a good student, I've been a great student my whole life, and I knew it was a problem when I was up till 5 a.m. playing and writing music instead of doing physics calculus problems. So
welcome to the In Your Home podcast. I'm your host, Brett Rosenthal. This podcast is about real people and real homes in Philadelphia and other cities near you. As a realtor in Philadelphia, I get to see all types of homes and meet all kinds of people, and I want to share these experiences with everybody. Tons of unique homes and some amazing people is what you will hear and see. If you like what you hear, follow us on your favorite streaming platform. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the In Your Home podcast. We have a guest today that is originally from the Philadelphia area and is currently living in Nashville, Tennessee. Very excited to speak to him, and I'm going to let him introduce himself now.
What's going on, guys? It's Holdyn here. My name is Holdyn Barder. I'm a country artist. I live in Nashville. Brett, thanks for having me on this morning, man.
Thanks for coming on.
This is great. And like as Brett mentioned, I'm from the Philadelphia region originally, and then now I live in Nashville, Tennessee, pursuing this thing called country music. So I've been down here for about 5 years now, and it's been a wild ride, man.
So this weekend I was at a party and my brother was like, how do you find your guests? And I'd say most of them are from like Instagram. That's how I knew about you. That's how I found you. So whatever you're doing on Instagram, it's working.
All right. Well, I'll take that as a compliment because I just put out a Philly song, which I love. It's called Ring That Bell. And it's actually not a country song at all. It's totally different from what I actually do usually.
Yeah.
And it definitely caught some buzz in Philly, good and bad. So it probably came out of some sort of result of that buzz. So I'm sure that's where we met. But no, I appreciate you taking the time. This is going to be great to chat, and I'd love to share my story and get into the whole thing, man. So
yeah, definitely. I guess to start. So tell us where you're from and start with that.
Yeah, totally. So I was born in Houston, Texas. So I was about 4 years old. My family was down there for business reasons, so I just happened to pop out down there. But my whole family's originally from Northeast Philly, right by Father Judge Frankfurt Ave and Welsh Road. My old grandma Addie used to work at the Holmesburg Bakery for 40 years, and my mom grew up a little girl going in there eating all the donuts and stuff. And my grandpa used to, actually, funny story, my grandpa used to ride horse buggies during World War II from the Northeast Philly airport for people back and forth, 4-hour horse buggy rides, which is crazy. So originally my whole family's not from Texas. We're from Philly. But when I was 4, we moved back to Philly. I grew up in Philly. I don't even remember Texas. So my family relocated from Northeast up to Bucks County in a little town called Yardley. And so I grew up going to school up in Bucks County, spent my summers down the Jersey Shore, and we've got a house down in Stone Harbor. My grandparents do. My dad's in Ocean City. We're in Stone Harbor. My cousins are in Wildwood. Originally, my whole family was in Wildwood, but they all moved up a little bit in Stone Harbor because my grandma Maddie wanted a house there for years, and she wouldn't let her husband do it. So then he passed away, and then and then we did it. So, but no. So originally, I'm from that whole area, and it wasn't until I attended Lafayette College in Easton, PA, just north of Philly, for 2 years. I was a physics major. I don't know why I chose that. I love physics. I love like the concepts of it, but I don't know why I chose physics. But anyway, I fell in love with music at the same time. And so I'm sure we'll get into the whole story, how I got into music. But eventually I found myself moving to Nashville a couple of years after that in 2019. And now I've been here for 5 years full time. So that's a little bit about that's the 1% version of my whole story, but I'm
Yeah.
sure we'll pick it apart some more. But yeah, man, it's been great so far. So anytime I get a chance to come home or go to games or see family, it always means so much to me.
Yeah, that's great. So as far as music, did you not get into music until college, or you did it all your life?
Yeah, I didn't get into it until, oh my gosh, probably my junior year of high school, so almost college.
Okay.
Uh, I went to George School in Newtown, PA. I had this little band that I formed with my best friends, and we're like, they had this live music band showcase every spring, and it was like my first time going on stage and all. So it's kind of like a talent show, but there's no awards. You just go and it's like a concert kind of.
Hmm.
Yeah. So so I hopped up on stage, and I can't tell you this rush I felt. Like, holy crap, this is the best feeling in the world. I'd never played in front of a crowd before. And I started playing actually before that moment of playing in front of a crowd for the first time. I found a blue guitar shaped paperclip. So I played a lot of tennis, and it was sitting on my tennis bag during a
Hmm.
match with my buddy. And I don't know where it came from because I had to throw the bag down on the court to get my racket out. And I walk back, and this blue guitar shaped paperclip is sitting on the tennis bag. Kid you not, I don't know how it got there, but I took it as a sign from the universe to start playing guitar. And my mom still has it framed at home. She won't let me take it to Nashville. It's like in this little frame. She's like, "You're not taking that paperclip." Um, but it was in the shape of a guitar, and I couldn't even believe it. So I took that as a sign, and so I kind of did it as a hobby, in high school. That was right before high school. Just did it for fun, on the dock down the shore or with buddies at home. But it wasn't really until I got into college after that live band showcase in high school, to where I was like, all right, maybe I should try and start singing with this too. And I put two and two together, hired a vocal coach, and eventually I found myself sitting at my dorm room desk, and I had a physics problem set in front of me and my guitar on my lap. And mentally, I was like, I have to pick one, and because I'm a good student, I've been a great student my whole life, and I knew it was a problem when I was up till 5 a.m. playing and writing music instead of doing physics calculus problems.
Right.
So not too good, but no, I ended up moving to Nashville. I met then I had a management consultant who connected me with songwriters and stuff in town. So whenever I would fly down here, um, we would meet up, and I would write with people. And so every time I kept coming down here my sophomore year, I was like, it's like every time I came, I just wanted to keep moving here more and more and more.
Hmm.
And eventually I did. My junior year, I transferred to Belmont University, which is where my alma mater is. But man, it's crazy going back through this because so much has happened,
Yeah.
uh, but no, it's been great. I know we're on a real estate podcast, so I lived in two apartments, and now I live in a condo. So we could get into that too without giving away the address. But
We don't need the address.
but man, it's been a cool journey. So in the long way around your question.
Yeah. So, okay, so I guess the first question is, when you started singing, was it always country music, or how did that?
Well, so what's crazy is, so I grew up listening to Garth Brooks and George Strait and Brooks and all these country legends, and when I was a little baby. And then when I moved back up to Philly, obviously it's not a huge country market, which I beg to differ, though. It's one of the top 10
Getting bigger.
largest
Yeah.
country music radio markets in the country, according to Nielsen, um, which is nuts. And we've got Barefoot Country Music Fest now. We had Tidal Wave, but they're out this year in Atlantic City. But it's a huge country market. The XTU people are great. I love them. But man, I fell out of touch with country music my entire childhood because I just
Mhm.
wasn't around it anymore. When I was a baby in Texas, it's like you can't get away from it. It's like everywhere you go, there's a cowboy hat. Not exaggerating, but you go to Philly and, it's just top 20, top 40 at radio. And that's kind of what I really grew up with. My whole family, we all boxed. We had a few boxing friend trainers that we'd box with. So I would, listen, to all the gym, hip hop, pump up music and whatever was on the radio at the time. And man, I didn't really get back into country until I was in the gym. Actually, this specific moment, I was in the gym, and this may have been senior year of high school. I forget when it was, but I remember this exact moment of when I had Spotify on, and I don't know if you know Diamond Rio, but they're a 90s country band.
Okay.
It came on my Spotify playlist, and it was a song from, 19 whatever. And I was like, I haven't heard this since, I was this little kid. And like in my brain, I was like, oh my, like, you ever hear those songs or like ever like taste something or smell something? You're like, that's just exactly like it used to be, and it was that moment for me. But, for the song, and I was like, I haven't heard, I think it was Beautiful Mess or whatever. You got to look it up. Great song. But it's called Beautiful Mess. And it goes like, what a beautiful mess, what a beautiful mess I'm in. It's kind of the hook. And I was like, oh my God, I literally remember sitting in my mom's car listening to the song. So I hadn't heard that for 15 years since. So then I went on a rabbit hole dig. I was like, all right, now I got to learn all these songs again and listen to them. And it was like Christmas morning. It was great. And so I fell back in love with country. I never not loved country music, but I kind of remembered it. And that was exactly around the time I was learning to play guitar. And so naturally, the two came together, and I ended up, playing country music. And so here we are today. But man, it's crazy how music has such that power to hold on to us, memories. And that's why I love being an artist, man, because I want to make stories and make people feel something that, can last forever. And I think music is the one language that we all, can relate to. We all can disagree on a lot of things, but I think music is the one thing that kind of brings us all together. But yeah, man, I hope that kind of answers your question.
You did everything pretty quickly, from like never playing music to where you are.
It's been quick. I moved here 5 years ago. And I started playing guitar maybe 12 years ago. So I didn't really, until I moved here, I wasn't really serious about. Well, actually, even when I moved here, it was kind of me mentally saying, I'm in this, but I didn't really get going until 2 years after I moved. So really 3 years ago, because I was in school here at Belmont University. But I was a music business major, worked at Big Machine Label Group, worked at a couple marketing companies that handled huge festivals. So I've kind of built some experience in the business end of the entertainment industry. But man, that's not why I moved here. I moved here to be an artist and songwriter. Right. So, now we're doing it, but I needed to get those skill sets, I think. And they were all important, and they're all helping me today. So, but yeah, so I would say I've been fully at it for almost 4 years, which is pretty cool. So. They say it's a 10-year town, so we're coming up soon.
Is that all you do now? Strictly music?
I'm full-time country artist. Yes, sir.
So what's like a typical day of a musician look like?
Well, my typical day is very different from other people's typical days. But if you go to any average songwriter in Nashville or artist, I'm sure their morning. So I'm a big morning person. I wake up at like 6 or sometimes 5 in the morning at the gym. And then, I feel good by 8, and then my day's ready to go. But I'm not the average guy here in town. So, and I recognize that. So I'd say my routine is getting up early, but most writers, they're out, writing and playing shows. And, in the summertime when I'm busy with shows, I don't get to bed till 1, 2, 3 in the morning. And so waking up at 5 is not a thing that happens. But I usually go to the gym, start my morning that way, eat breakfast real quick. By 8, I'm usually good. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, I do vocal training with my coach, Katie, to prep for tour. And then I go ahead usually in a songwriting session. I try to save those for the end of the week, just because my beginning of the week is very businessy. Like we're doing this interview on what's today, Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I can't even keep up with the days. So today's Monday for us, right? Whoever's watching this, it's whatever day. But right now it's Monday, right? So it's a very interviewy day for me. But Wednesday, Thursday, Friday will be very creative and songwriting, and
Mm-hmm.
so that's usually how I split it up. And then I like to get all my emails and uh, business tasks done in the morning, and then the afternoons are usually meant for, at least for me, for the more creative end. I do everything independently right now, so I have to treat, my whole career like a 9 to 5. I know music is a very tough, you know, it's a tough world to wrap your mind around in terms of, oh, this is your schedule, because, shows start at 9 p.m. sometimes, or 10 p.m. And it's like, okay, I could be 9 to 5, but 9 to 5 and then 10 to 1, so
Mm-hmm.
you kind of have to learn how to balance it. And it's different from your standard, 9 to 5. But you have to treat it like as if it were a 9 to 5, because if you don't, you get burned out, you get tired, so I'm learning very quickly how important it is to take care of yourself, to sleep, to, the music is a crazy machine. I just went to Morgan Wallen's concert here in Nashville the other night, and I mean, to pull that off had to have taken days to put together, but for him to, do 3 nights back to back to back
That's
is
hard.
so much on the body, the cardio, the singing, it's hard, man. And so, I'm not at that point yet. One day I would love to be, but it's even for the shows that I'm doing now. I booked 10 plane tickets yesterday just for these little shows, and I've got one in New York I'm booking. We're doing a hometown show in Jersey this summer in Stone Harbor, where we have a house. Um, we've got I've got so many things going on. I could see very quickly how not having a morning routine, which I rely extensively on to keep me sane, would throw somebody off so hard. And music is, I feel like real estate might be like that too, where you have to do showings, you have to do whatever it may be. I mean, I don't really. I mean, how do you kind of cope with that?
I mean, I shouldn't say I'm different, but I agree with you. Like there, first of all, there's no set schedule with real estate, like kind of like you. So I try to make it like a 9 to 5, also at least a 9 to 5. And I wake up super early, work out, and it kind of just gets me into the routine. But I
Yeah.
feel like there's tons of agents that don't get in a routine and they're just all over the place or not doing enough because they're not in a routine.
Mm.
So it's kind of similar. Yeah.
You kind of see the detriments of not having a routine in place, and then
Mhm.
with your colleagues, and then it's like, okay, well, I got one
I
in
gotta,
place, so like, I'm good.
yeah,
Like, I can do podcast interviews, I can do whatever.
right. I gotta do
I,
something to fill the day. And if I feel like the ones that don't fill the day and then don't understand why they're not doing well, it's probably because you didn't fill it. You just have to fill a day, even though it's not the type of job where you have to have a specific schedule. But I think if you're working at least 9 to 5, you're going to do well.
Amen.
Yeah. So when you moved to Nashville, did you know anybody?
I knew three people.
Okay.
Dude, my friend Charlie, who I had met, she's a great artist. She lives here in town. She moved here the same year I moved here. I knew my then manager, Jordan Elliott, and a songwriting colleague, Jason Matthews. And that was it. And among all three of them, they're all great human beings. But, I kind of moved here with just a dream, and just to do it. Now, of course, I had the safety net of school,
Mm-hmm.
so, I lived off campus when I moved to Nashville. But I don't know, man. I just always felt like I wanted to do something big, and at the end of the day, I want to help people, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and what better way to do something helping people than doing what you love, right? Like the same's probably true for your field, where you love showing people their homes, and and show them, wow, like this is where you can start your life and live. And like, look how great the space is. Look at the design, the beauty that went into this and the hard work, right? It's like music's the same way where, you know, you want to connect with people, whatever way, whatever way or profession it is, it's just making it, it's all about making a difference. Right. And whether minor scale and major scale, it's like for me, I want to play stadiums and do a whole Garth Brooks, Kenny Chesney thing. But, one day maybe I'll get there. And you're doing real estate and you're making a killing doing real estate. And it's like, wow, it's like, yeah, that's a win, and I think, I'm somebody who likes to see the glass half full, rather than half empty. And, so that's a big deal, to show somebody their new home. I mean, that's where they're going to build memories. That's where they're going to turn on the song to, wherever, slow dance in a kitchen one day, or who knows? I don't know. But it's all parts of life that, matter and are important. And so, when I moved here, I only knew 3 people, but, I knew that I had that feeling to want to do something big and to help others. And I was learning how to find my voice, and I finally found that. And, the music I'm about to put out kind of reflects that part of me that I haven't really shown yet. And so, not moving here and not knowing anybody is 3 people is basically not knowing anybody. Is definitely daunting for a lot of people. But, you have to love it to do it. You have to love the journey. You have to love the process, because if you're not in love with the journey of it and where you are right now, it's going to feel like work, and it's going to beat you down, and it's going to kill you almost. Right. And you want to get to the end goal of shows or stadiums or, top real estate agent, right? Or whatever it may be.
Right.
We may get those goals, right? But it's like, unless we love the journey we're on right now and the process of it all unfolding, then, it's going to kill us. And, so I always tell my friends, like, if you're going to move to town like I did, make sure you just are in it for the long haul and you love this thing so much. It's like going to med school and you want to be a doctor, but you don't want to go to 12 years of school. It's like, well, it doesn't happen that way. You have to go to school. You got to do the steps. But you have to love that process too. You don't waste 12% of your life to go to school, right? You have to enjoy that. So, at the end of the day, you got to follow your happiness. And that's what I did when I moved here. And I'm very glad I did, because we're playing CMA Fest this year for the first time, which is the big country music festival. We're doing a whole new album I'm working on. We're doing a whole bunch of cool stuff. So it's all going in the positive direction very well. So
that's good. That's good. Okay, let's talk a little bit about real estate. So
yeah, there we go.
you moved there after you got out of college. Where did you move to? What type of housing?
I moved to an apartment.
Okay.
So I was in an apartment when I moved to Belmont, to Nashville. My senior year, I was in this tiny little studio. It was a great place, actually. It wasn't like your New York City studios where it's like, communal bathroom and all that. It was, I can't do that. But no, it was a great little studio. It was like 900 square feet, 800 square feet, and had its own bedroom. It was great. And can't speak highly enough about it. I almost moved back there. I have a horror story for you. So, and maybe you could shed light on this. So, and I don't know if you find humor in it, but after I graduated, I moved to another apartment complex out by the airport. So whenever you move out by an airport, in any city, we all know what that means. Things can go wrong. So anyway, I moved out to this place. It wasn't a bad neighborhood. It was all right. It was near a lake, which I liked, and being outside and all. And but it was a bigger apartment on the ground floor. Everybody above me smoked weed all the time. It drove me nuts. Like, we had complaints everywhere. They didn't stop. I don't even know if they got kicked out, because this place, let me tell you. So every single month,
okay,
a pipe or something would burst in the unit, I literally remember waking up. This is like every month, maybe every other month, but it felt like every month. I
Okay.
opened my bedroom door.
Water.
This much, like an inch or two of water, just sitting in the whole living room, just like it was like a field day. Like the water was like, oh yeah, here you go. Here's Hurricane Katrina coming in, and literally my outlet for my producing studio, like those big charger things,
Yeah.
um, was 2 inches away from this giant puddle of water. So with like 10 plugs in it. So, and it was all powered on. So I don't know what they were doing. I don't know. They tried to fix it every single month. It kept happening. Oh, it was terrible. And I was like, what? Oh, this is what I get for, I think it was, I don't know how much it was, like 1,500 a month, but for
Okay.
one bedroom. But like, I mean, but still, it's like they're like, oh, this is. So I called the property manager. He came out and he's like, oh man, like I don't smell anything. There was mold in there. Oh, it was, and I had those mold kits, around the house, and they're like, oh, I don't smell anything, and literally the smell left an hour before they got there.
Right.
So,
Of course.
but anyway, he's like, well, this is what happens with apartment living, man. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? You crazy? So anyway, I complained so much about that place, rightfully so. They ended up breaking my lease for me, which I didn't ask them to.
Yeah.
They just told me one day in an email. They're like, "Hey, we're gonna let you just,
Leave.
get out of here." So I feel bad for the people that are in there now, but ended up moving to a condo in downtown Nashville, which has been great. I've been here for 2 years, so we're moving up in the world, quite literally too. But it's definitely a lot better.
Sounds it. So
But I don't know if you've had horror stories like that, or
yeah, no, there's a lot of horror in Philly. There's tons of like horrible like management companies and stories like that. Even the building I lived in, which is really nice, and luckily it wasn't my side of the building, had like a major flood like that. But I think they kind of handled it a lot better than what your building did.
yeah.
But
And I was in Egypt this September on a vacation trip with my mother. We were like on a group tour. This was before all the stuff with Israel happened, so
okay,
I got out right in time, which I'm grateful for. But we were over there late September, and and I got an email on my phone. My building was like, oh, there's a fire in the building, and what happened was this woman left this wooden basket on a stove. It caught on fire, and then the sprinklers went off. Right? They put the fire out, but they didn't realize that the water had dripped down into electrical units 20 floors below. So I'm I'm not going to say what level I'm in or what building I'm in, but
yeah,
I'm kind of up here, and the fire was here. So all the apartments below us, so it's kind of split with apartments and condos. The entire apartment side, half, had to get evacuated. They housed everybody for 2 months. They offered mental health stuff, but counts, like they had to displace every single person because of this electrical problem, and it was fire. I hear. I wasn't in town for it, thank God.
right. Yeah, so.
But I got back, and I'm like, where the hell is everybody? like they were gone. They had to house them. They had to put them up, and it was. I've never seen something like that happen. Is that something they typically do? Like where
That's what they did here. They housed them. I don't know about the counseling. I don't think they provided counseling, but they did move people to like hotels.
And here in Nashville, they're a little more. There's a little more hospitality, I think.
Yeah. So you say you live downtown now. Is that like near where all the like Broadway, where all the bars are and stuff like that?
Yeah, I'm a couple blocks from Broadway. It's great. I don't feel like I'm downtown.
Yeah.
Because, I'm in this unit. But, once you go downstairs, you're right in it. The only problem is parking. We share a parking lot with a public lot. So the public lot is always jammed on the weekend because of games and Broadway and concerts, and it's Nashville,
Yeah.
So that's the only problem, is trying to get out on a week. I've learned when to drive, when not to drive, how long I got to wait for things to get over. And it's a mess on the week. If it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you just don't drive at rush hour or even think about it. You just don't. But if it's Sunday night, because everybody's not going out Sunday night,
Yeah.
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you're pretty good. So I've learned, the craziness only happens on the weekend here in Nashville. It's weird too. Like living downtown, you probably think of Broadway as this crazy busy street, which it is. It's absurd. But in the week on a Tuesday morning, it's like the most peaceful thing because it's all these empty bars and nobody on the street. Literally nobody on the street. It's kind of like COVID eerily, but it's a cool feeling. And then on the weekend you just forget about it.
Yeah. I was in Nashville sometime this winter, and first time ever actually. And I did what you did. I want to go see the city, so I went at like 11 a.m. or something, and it was just like a ghost town. I'm like, this is Nashville. And then later that night, I went back, and I was like, this is complete. Now I see why people do it. Yeah, totally.
I'll tell you what, when I moved here 5 years ago, it wasn't nearly as busy as it is now.
Okay.
And I thought it was pretty busy then, but I was like, it doesn't even come close. I think the average number now is 200 people on average move to Nashville daily. And they're building a couple blocks this way. They're building this brand new complex called Nashville Yard. It's going to be a multi-purpose entertainment facility with venues, restaurants, hotels, huge. I think it's Clark Construction. Got it everywhere. But then they've got a whole new Superdome they're building for the Titans. So they're going to knock down the stadium, and they're building a new stadium behind it. I don't know what those plans look like. But then they're also doing – what else are they doing? They're building this giant entertainment facility in Franklin, Tennessee, just 30 minutes south, which is like this – I think it's – I don't know what it is. I think it's recording studios and rehearsal rooms and stuff for creatives, but it's this giant like Amazon warehouse that they're converting into this facility. So that's going to be huge. What else are they doing? There's just so much going on. They're building an 80-story skyscraper tower, not too far downtown. It's going to be residential across from that entertainment complex. There's just so much going on. There's a lot of cranes, but that's a good sign, When there's a lot of cranes, it means something's doing well. But the traffic sucks. The traffic is so bad. That's the only thing. At night, during the week, it's great. Rush hour, you just forget it. I mean, I have friends that live in Franklin, and they have to drive to work north of Nashville. So they live south, and they got to go through the city. And, I mean, a 30-minute commute turns into like 2 hours easily on a Friday, morning. It's just – you just don't do it. That's why I'm so grateful where I am because, I don't take it for granted because it could be a lot worse. What used to be for me. But we're doing well, man. It's good. The city's great. It needs, that buzz, but I wish the urban planners did a little better job.
So the condo you're in now, is it like a 1-bedroom, a 2-bedroom?
It's a 2-bedroom. The second bedroom was converted into a office by the previous owner, and then I ended up making it my recording studio, kind of man cave. So that's it's just me that lives here. I live by myself, hopefully for the foreseeable future too, because I've got a lot of shows coming up. I don't know if I could have a girlfriend that long extensively. I have a girlfriend now, but I hope that things work out, but man, I don't plan on moving in anytime soon. But no, it's a cool spot. It's a cool unit. Everything's kind of self-maintained in here. It's weird. It's a weird feeling because condos are like homes. It just feels weird because it's like, oh, you're in downtown Nashville and then you're at home. It's a strange concept that when I first moved in, it's the weirdest feeling, but I'm used to it now, and the view is great. The view outside my place is great, and there's not much not to like, which I'm very grateful for. So
yeah. So do you know how the prices compare, like from Nashville to Philly? Is it similar?
Well, man, they're through the roof, so I assume similar. But I'm not too familiar with Philly real estate pricing, but my buddy just moved into an apartment, 2-bedroom apartment. I think he's paying $1,600 a month. So I don't know if
That's pretty good, actually.
that's pretty good.
Compared to here. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say if it's in a good area, 1,600 for a 2-bedroom, you can't get that here in Philly. I don't think.
Okay. Yeah. So it's not terrible here
Yeah.
yet, but it will be.
Yeah, it'll keep getting worse as
I
people.
guess relative, to a giant city like Philly. I mean, yeah, everybody complains here about real. I feel like anywhere you go, people are like, "Oh yeah, real estate's so expensive." It's like, but do people really actually know what expensive is? It's like you go to Philly at what's a 2-bedroom in Philly probably apartment wise.
I mean, if it's like a condo, like kind of like what you're saying, like a nicer place, you could be looking at like 3 to 3,500 for like a decent place. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's about right. So yeah, but most people are like, "Oh yeah, it's so expensive," and it probably is. It really is expensive. But then you go to San Francisco or Philly or New York.
Yeah, it's just
blown out of proportion. It's like
right.
But no, I only expect it. I'm not a real estate agent, but I only expect prices to rise here, because it's just the demand in this city is nuts. I think it's the fastest growing city in the U.S. I think between this and Austin, I think that those two are the quickest grow. And everybody's moving here from California. Everybody's moving here from the West Coast. So even from Philly, guys like me. But it's nuts how how that much influx of people just changes everything. And so it's only going to get worse, but I'm grateful where I'm tucked away right now. So it doesn't really, it only benefits my situation.
Right. So when I was there, my son is a hockey player, and we stayed right in the city of Nashville, but a lot of the games are like in these suburbs around. And I guess my question is there anything else outside of the city of Nashville that's worth? I mean, to me, it was just highway, and like you'd end up in a little town with shopping centers.
Yeah. So did he play in the Predators training facility?
Yeah, it was really nice. Yeah.
Okay. So that's like, I think that's 30 minutes south. That's like Bellevue area. It's a nice part of town.
Yeah.
And that's great. I've never been in there, but it looks like a cool facility.
It was
nice. But yeah, there's a lot of cool spots. There's Franklin, which is town I mentioned south of here. That's a really great part of town. It's kind of like reminds you of, I guess, New Hope would be in Bucks County, or like Newtown. It's very, old colonial type, not colonial because it's the South, but very, very kind of traditional. And there's Brentwood, which is kind of like your Langhorne or something like that. Where you still got malls and stuff, but I don't know what I'm saying. But yeah, there's cool spots around Nashville. I mean, if you go, you have to really go out of town to find cool spot. There's a town called Murfreesboro, which is like 45 minutes now south of Nashville, and they've got great food, great atmosphere, great stuff going on. There's a college campus there for MTSU, so that's a busy college town. So there's always a lot going on there. But honestly, like Nashville, I mean, I'm always a Music Row a lot, kind of where Belmont and all the labels are. They're kind of in the same area, which is conveniently positioned. And that's just like a couple blocks away. So I'm usually there at those bars and hanging out with buddies, those, little networking joints and coffee shops. And so that's a really cool part of town. There's like downtown Nashville is, I mean, there's Broadway, which is your craziness, right? And after a while, you kind of stop going, but it's still fun to get it out of your system every now and then. But there's a very cute neighborhood, 12 South. That's called 12 South. It's like kind of boutiques. There's a little park. There's ice cream shop. Really cool. Green Hills. That's a great part of town. A lot of country artists live there. There's this little spot in East Nashville. Lots of great food. It's kind of the hipster part of town. but it's really, really, really good food wise. So I'm usually over there. But actually, my buddy just opened a cheesesteak joint. His name's Nick. Mutual buddy, but he's Kane Brown, country singer Kane Brown's merchandise manager. So he's from Philly originally, and he just opened it this week. So cheesesteaks are top notch. So if you're ever in Nashville, you got to check it out. It's legit.
When I was there, so the Titans game was that weekend, but it wasn't versus the Eagles. But there's a bar right on Broadway that's like a Philly bar. Like everybody was there to watch the Eagles.
I need to go to that.
I forget what it was called. I gotta find out. But it just like was taken over by Philly people.
It makes sense. Were they in town? You said? Or?
No, they weren't in town, but like people were. I guess it was like, I think the Titans game was like later in the day, and the Eagles was before, and everybody went there first.
Well, I'll tell you what, I have friends that come down from Philly a lot. And they're like, "Hey, we're in town, let's go to Broadway." I'm like, again, but no, I mean, we go out and I meet them, and there's Eagles fans everywhere. There's Philly people everywhere, and like you go and like Garth Brooks has a new bar downtown called Friends in Low Places, and I went in there. First time I went in there, I had an Eagle shirt on. I think I got 30 Go Birds,
Right.
But that's just what happens. It's like there's so many people from, New York, Philly, Jersey come down here. And I mean, it's crazy. I think it's just because I feel like, and this is an interesting observation. I feel like Philly is a very blue collar town, and the values of country music and Nashville and just the whole facade of it, I think really connect with, people in the Philly region, and it might not be your traditional country music market, but the values and the tough, gritty nature of it, right? I think resonate with so many people. Of course they want to come to Nashville because Philly doesn't have, country music bars to go to and jam and two-step to, right? And line dance and maybe there's a few, but I haven't seen them. So actually, a colleague of mine, Patrick, is opening a bar in Wildwood this summer, Honky Tonk Bar. So that'll be exciting in Jersey. But that's really the only one I can think of. I don't know, man. Unless you're down the shore, there's some spots. But I think people just love Nashville and the vibe of it. If Philly had a district, then this might be good. Future opportunity. Who knows? But if Philly had a district to put like basically a mini Broadway, I think it would do so well.
That would scare me, but
yeah, well,
but it would be money making, and like people would want to go. I hope they have the security in place for that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you might have to go in the suburb for that. Or
maybe I thought of that. I actually thought of that too. Like that would be great. Then
just throw it down the shore. Then it might be better off. Not Atlantic City, but somewhere else.
Right.
But no, it's cool, man. I just wish there was more of that, up home. But the other thing too is like, when they come here, it's such a huge economy boost for Nashville because 95% of everybody on Broadway are tourists. So, it's funny how other cities are fueling Nashville's economy. I mean, that's how it's always been. Without music, this city really doesn't really have much.
Right.
Healthcare and schools, but I mean it's what drive. I mean it's an entertainment town. It's fueled by tourism. That's what is paying for the new stadium. It's what's paying for all these new properties. So it's interesting, man. I don't know if Philly's the same way, where tourism's kind of the thing. It's probably more sports than anything, I would imagine, but or school or education and health probably. But I don't know. It's interesting, man. But there's so many Philly people here. But I'm rambling. I digress. But
so the question I had when I was on Broadway, there's like a band on each floor of every single bar. How do you get a booking there? Is it easy or is it hard?
Well, a lot of them are through auditions. So when I first moved to town, I did a lot of that. And you kind of eventually, after a hot minute, you realize that you have to spend time, networking and, going out of your way to, do writers rounds and to kind of hang out in Midtown more than Broadway, which is where most of the music industry is. So if there's any advice I always give people, it's like go to Midtown, because Midtown is where everybody's at, that you should want to know. Broadway is good training ground. It's great for meeting fans. Number one, I know people who've met so many fans off Broadway and have gotten record deals because of them playing on Broadway. But yeah, it happens through auditions. Sometimes like somebody just knows you and they're like, hey, come play. It's a mess of whatever. It's just kind of, you just have to be here to get those opportunities. That's usually what I tell people. But yeah, a lot of the bigger bars like Garth's new bar, Luke Bryan's, Jason Aldean's, Luke Combs' new bar they're about to build. They all have a booking agency that they outsource with, or book. I think at least for Old Red, Blake Shelton's bar, they use Ryman Hospitalities in their booking. So the same people that book the Grand Ole Opry and the Ryman Auditorium book the bars as well.
Okay.
So they're all different. They're all laid out differently. But the biggest thing, man, that I've learned is like, Broadway's great, but you don't want to get caught in Broadway. Like it's good to play a show or two here and there on Broadway. That's how you're going to meet fans and stuff. But you don't want to get in that cycle because that becomes your job.
Yeah.
Right. And so, which is a good thing. People would say, oh, that's great. That's great. And I would almost beg to differ because, yeah, it keeps your chops up. It keeps you going. But artistry, so there's being a musician and then there's being an artist, right? And it's like my inspiration as an artist comes from just living life but I need the time in the day to live life to get the songs and the inspiration and to tell my story. If I was just busking it on Broadway, which I have before, there's not really a lot of creative freedom in the day because you're just busting your ass all day singing other people's songs. It's like, no, I want you guys to sing my songs one day, but the only way to do that is, really spending time with yourself, networking, developing your craft, learning how to write songs but that comes with, finding time to do that. And so Broadway's cool, but I always tell friends, I'm like, guys, make sure you're giving time to yourself, make sure you're loving your craft and yourself and not forgetting why you moved here to tell your story. Right. And Broadway, all the bars on Broadway only want you to play covers. And so, you're not playing your music, it's so I don't know. I have a weird relationship with it because, I love it. But at the same time, you eventually, I don't want to say graduate because that's so the best Broadway singers and musicians are the best in the world. It's so true. It's like they'll outplay you any day of the freaking week. But so the respect is there. But at the same time, I think as an artist what I'm trying to say is an artist in my position, I think several Broadway shows are good, but also focusing on social media, focusing on building your fan base, focusing on your songwriting, your production, your art. I think that's even more important. And playing shows, of course, that's the most important thing. So if you got to play Broadway, do it. But, it's weird, man. Music is the weirdest. I could talk about this for hours. It's like, you learn quickly, like where to put your energy. And there's only 24 hours in a day. So it's like, do I go to this bar to meet this person? Or do I go out to hang with these friends? Do I go here to jam, practice my chops? It's like, there's so many things. There's no rules, right? And
you gotta figure it out.
From a 9 to 5 where, or your typical, day where it's like nobody's telling you what to do, right? No, there's no right or wrong. They're just going at it, and you have to build that framework. That's why, like, people think like, you're down in Nashville, yeah, cool, man. It's like that. Yeah, I'm here in Nashville, but this is a professional career that we're building, and there's another level of kind of tier detail that, you have to maintain and the vision and your goal. And I think it comes down, I mean, I feel like you're very similar where, we both get a goal and it's like, no, we're doing it. We're cool. And you have to believe in yourself. Man, I should be a motivational speaker. What
You
the hell?
should.
But the man I talk, but you have to believe in yourself. And all this sounds verbatim, but it's so true. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm the only one down here doing this, right? For me, right? I don't have family here. I have friends here now, but
Yeah.
I mean, you have to truly believe in yourself. You have to you have to believe in your story so much that you have to believe the world is going to want to hear it. And it'll beat you down. And then when people tell you, "Oh, that sucks, man. That's terrible." It's like, musicians are like little fine emotional creatures. It's like they put their whole life on the line, and then they get stones thrown at them, and it's like, all right, But they're vulnerable. So it's like you have to learn how to do that. Anyway, I'm rambling, but it's a whole. I'm sure there are books on, musicians living in Nashville and the psychology of it, because it really, I mean, Broadway's cool though, but it all starts with booking a little gig like that, and you have to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere. And the best way to start is just to do it. That's how I always think is like, I don't need to know how to do it yet. I just need to do it, And so go book the gig on Broadway. Go find that guy and get in there, or go get that writer's round, or do whatever, just start. And I've found that a lot of my success that I've achieved so far for where I'm at in my career has been because I've just done it, right? I didn't know what to do. And I'm very guilty of like thinking, and this applies to everything, but I'm very guilty of thinking very intensely about things, and almost to the point to where I don't do them.
Okay.
Where like I'll think like, I got to do this, I got to do that, it's got to be done right, and then I just don't do it. Whereas, if I just had been like, hey, email that guy, get it done, but I would have done more in 5 minutes than 5 hours of contemplating it. So, but it's tricking yourself into doing that, and that's where I found most of the momentum comes from. But I don't know if you relate to that in real estate.
Yeah, actually, exactly. So as a realtor, when you get into the business, everybody, and there's even companies that say we have the best training in the world, and like they put you in these classes and you learn everything you probably never need to know about real estate. And then your mind is so like focused on, am I doing it right? Am I going to do this right? Did I screw up? And it took me like just literally going out there and doing it, and doing some right, doing some wrong, but like that got me going. And everything you learn means nothing. Yeah.
You just got to get your feet dirty, and that's what Broadway's great for, though. I will say is here in Nashville is it gets you in front of fans immediately, and it gets you to get good immediately, because you have to perform, you have to do it, and it's almost like you could contemplate, am I capable? Can I do this? But like, just throw yourself in it and you'll figure it out, and that's usually where the success comes. And so, but I try to apply that same mentality to everything I do, and, songwriting, shows, vocal lessons, whatever it is, it's a good way to be. But I get it from my dad. My dad was a Marine. And so, or is once a Marine, always a Marine. He killed me. But he was in the Marine Corps in the 90s and early 90s. And, it's part of his old regimen, so I probably get it from him. My mom's a poet, and an author, so I probably get the writing from her. Yeah. So, but man, living here is, you have to love it. I said that before, but you really have to love what you do, and that's so important, because you see 20,000 other artists doing the same thing as you with the same goal, looking for the same spot. Right. And then you realize there's room at the top for everybody, because you're the only you. Right. But you have to learn that. And it's I can see why it would be intimidating for, a lot of people. And I see why people move out of Nashville, too. They come here with dreams and then they leave. Right. Because they just can't one, they can't support it financially, or two, they, lost hope. They've compared themselves to people. They've, gotten in their own way, and, for something they've dreamed for their whole life, probably same as athletes, where it's like, I've dreamed this my whole life, and not to play one NHL game, or to not play one game in the NFL or Major League Baseball, just to get called up, like sometimes that doesn't even happen. Yeah. And, but if you know who you are, like if you find joy in even that happening, like your happiness isn't derived out of the things that you achieve. It's derived out of who you are. Right. And so I always tell musicians, like I had friends that wanted to give up. I had friends that moved back home that said, no, I'm not quitting yet, but I'm kind of just trying to figure out life. And I'm like, well, why'd you move home then? Like they're saying I'm not quitting, but yet you just moved home, so I don't know, man. It's you just have to believe. You have to believe in yourself that much to stay and to trust the process. It sounds so like something out of a biblical textbook or something, but it's it's real stuff. Yeah. And you have to truly want to do it. And it goes with anything, but I don't know, man. It's so vanilla, but it sounds vanilla, but it's real stuff. Like, because when you get people telling you, 20,000 people in the comment section after dropping a Philly song telling you to kill yourself, you kind of are like, holy shit, that's half the stadium, But at the same time, you're like, well, no, I know I have 20 songs in the pipeline, all these record label meetings, coming soon, this talent agency, these management companies, right? The process is there, but you have to believe in yourself so much to look at all of that hate and be like, they don't get it, and it doesn't matter what their opinion is. I make music because I love it, right? And so, but I do have music that, the Philly song specifically, I'll take that, ring that bell, which I love it. I love this song. I did it for fun. Yeah. And, I didn't expect, I think that's how we met.
Well, I definitely found you that, but since then I've been listening to your other music and it's good.
Thanks,
but
man.
That's how I found you.
Thank you. But yeah, I've got a lot more coming, but it's, it's funny, man. Like, I'm a country artist, right? Doing a rap song. Right. So, of course, there's going to be, comments about stuff. And my friends and I laugh at it, honestly. But it's, but then I drop, one of my favorite songs I've ever written. And then everybody's like, oh, my God. So you got to take it with a grain of salt. But I can see how somebody who, maybe doesn't have that confidence or that drive or that belief in themselves, what we were talking about, could take that and do something bad or leave or give up, or who knows? I mean, we don't know, and it's not for the weak, It's like you look at these stars, like you look at Taylor Swift, right? The entire world knows who she is, but that means all the people who love her and all the people who don't love her, and she's got to deal with that. She has to show up with stalkers at her door every year. Throwing stones, trying to break in, saying biblical verses of why Taylor Swift is their partner. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's how crazy some of these people are. And I can only imagine, I'm not at that point, but I can only imagine what that must feel like, to where you can't go out in public, you can't live your normal life. But that's the sacrifice we make as artists. To how much do we love it, to share our message with people and look at the good that has come out of that, So it's interesting, man. It's not for any average person, but being an artist, I'll say, it's one of those things that you can't deny. Like, you just know you are, and if you question it, then you probably aren't, but you just have to know it. And you can't take the criticism to heart. It's, if anything, it's validation. Yeah. And, but anyway, I, as you could tell, I love talking. So
we've I only got a couple more things. So first, did you ever meet anyone? Did you ever meet anyone like really famous in music?
Yeah, I've met a bunch of people. I've had the opportunity to seat fill a couple times at some award shows.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the concept of seat filling?
I kind of can figure it out without even knowing, but
Okay.
not exactly. I basically,
So,
yeah, again.
yeah, on live TV. So, like, for example, the CMA Awards every November on live TV. I think they're on ABC usually,
Yeah,
but on live TV, they can't have empty seats in the crowd because
it looks
it
bad.
looks bad there,
Yeah.
right? So, whenever the stars get up for interviews and things like that, they need to fill in the seats. Excuse me. So, that was my job. So I always love doing it. It's free. It's a little secret. I try to tell friends, you just sign up with your email and they get you
Okay.
in. You get all dressed up, but it's fun. And anyway, so I met a bunch of people doing that. I sat next to Pink, who's from Doylestown. Uh, I sat next to Chris Stapleton once. Dolly was a couple seats over from me. When I was at Belmont, I worked at Big Machine Label Group, which is where Taylor Swift used to, live
Mm-hmm.
record wise. So I met a lot of great people there. I remember Reba walked up to the door once, and because I had to man the door, I was like the intern. Hi, this is Big Machine. Who are you here to see? And she's like, "Hi, darling, this is Reba." And I'm like, "Oh my god!" And my boss was over here. He's like, "Let her in, let her in." I'm like, it's so cool. So you meet people like that are just legends. You're just like, what the heck? I met Dirk Bentley actually at the NAC in Pennsylvania, in Newtown Athletic Club. He did I think he's good friends with the owner, Jim Worthington, and he did a 50th anniversary party private concert for all the members for the gym. And so I got to meet him backstage. That was really cool. And he asked me, that was right before I moved here.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked me, he's like, "Hey man, you moving to Nashville anytime soon? What's your name?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm going to go to Belmont, all these cool things." He's like, "Oh, I drive by there all the time. So come, if I see you, say hey." And what you learn is after meeting all these, famous people, they're just people. And the coolest part is that, you see why they're successful because they're just so kind, so selfless, and you're like, wow, that's a good person, And like he's a good guy,
Mm-hmm.
Dirk Bentley. Like it's like I don't know, it's really inspirational because you see guys at the top of their game, and you're just like, wow, like I get it, I get why you're successful,
Yeah.
you know. And it's cool. And Nashville is the crazy town because you go out of your day and you run into Keith Urban at breakfast. That's just what happens. That's just the
Yeah.
standard thing. So it's cool in that sense. Like my buddy was at church yesterday and he saw Tyler Hubbard, the lead singer of Florida Georgia Line, walk out of church with his family. He didn't bother him, but like
Yeah.
that's just how it
Battle.
goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so Nashville is cool in that aspect. I feel like it's the only city where like there's not paparazzi. Like anywhere else, like it would be nuts. But here it doesn't
Normal.
even exist. It's normal. But I think it's like a subtle rule. Unspoken rule. It's like this is where they live. The stars live. Whereas in LA, they live out there too. But
They're
you've got
followed.
crazy
Yeah.
paparazzi. Yeah. But here it's like a little sanctuary of stars. And Post Malone lives here now. Ed Sheeran's got a flat here. So a lot of stars live here and have places here, but they just don't say it, because
Yeah.
they like the
Keep it
quiet.
quiet.
Yeah, and even if they do get seen, it's people don't really freak out. I mean, they freak out internally, but they're not gonna go out of their way.
Right.
It's interesting, man. It's a cool city.
How often do you come back here?
I try to come back. Well, usually I'd say once a month or once every
Okay.
2 months. I'm there all summer usually for shows down the shore with my band. We've got a bunch coming up. So the summertime, I'm usually back and forth. But yeah, usually maybe like 6, 7 times throughout the summer, I'm traveling back and forth. The winter's usually every 2 months or so. But on average, like every once a month. But I try to go home because, I've got family at home. I've got, my mom and dad, my grandparents, I've got everybody up there. So yeah, that's the only problem with living in Nashville is like, I love this so much that I'm willing to, leave my family to do this thing. And that's how invested you have to be. It gets to you sometimes because you miss them, you love them, but when you go home, you get to see them, and it's only an hour and a half flight.
Yeah,
so
it's not bad. Not bad.
But it's a 13-hour drive, which I've done quite a bit, and it's not fun, but but it's cool, man. I try to go home whenever I can because those are the moments that matter most. It's music's fun, but family's most important, and at least to me. And so I try to, I got to get better at trying to go home more, but eventually I'm trying to take it in while I can now because shows are about to pick up, and next year I'm working on an album for next year too. So I can only imagine how busy life's going to get. Morgan Wallen has a song called I forget who wrote it. I think he wrote it with someone else, but it's called "Thoughts You Should Know," and it's about calling his mom up and saying like, "Hey, what's going on, mama? Da, 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 da. I ain't been home in 2 months." And it's like I thought you should know that all those prayers you thought you wasted on me are finally making their way on through. Like it's just like a really cool song about that. It's like, that's why I love songs. I can I can pull out a song for every situation,
Right.
but it's it's definitely hard, not being your family. So I try to go home, but it's my goal is one day, I could just, have a bus and get them their own bus, and they all live on a bus one day on tour, and then they all come with me.
That would be good.
That would be nice, but yeah.
Anyway, I've kept you way too long. You probably have to do stuff. I have to go. I have to go sell a house today. But
congratulations.
Well, I hope. But
we'll see.
You were by far the easiest person to talk to that I've done this with yet. So congratulations.
No, thank you for having me on here, man.
Why don't you? Really cool. Yeah, it was great. Why don't you tell everybody like how they can get a hold of you, how they can see you, whatever you want, basically.
Yeah, totally. So again, my name is Holdyn. So I'm all over Instagram, as we know, with Philly. But no, I'm on Instagram. Holdyn Barder Music is my username. I'm on Facebook, same thing. Holdyn Barder Music, TikTok, all that. You can look me up on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, wherever you listen. I am there. I've got "Ring That Bell," which is my new Philly rap song, which I think I'll stick to country for now on. But I've got that I just put out. So if you're going to tailgates and stuff, turn that on. I've got "Go Birds," which is my Eagles country song. See, country did well for me, so I'm sticking to country. The Eagles song did well. The Philly song, I think it's a great song. I think it's even better than the Eagles one, but it's rap. So, a guy from living in Nashville singing a rap song doesn't sit well with people for some reason. I don't know. But no, I've got music all out, and we're working on albums now. So go take a listen to it. Go follow me. My whole tour schedule's on my website, holdynbarder.com. Yeah, I think I just said all the spiel.
That's perfect. I'm looking it all up. I mean, I already knew about you, but I'm going to look up your website and see where you're touring. Maybe I'll see you this summer.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Come on down. I'm mainly down the shore, but I'm doing a free show. All the shows are free. Most of them. But I'm doing a free Stone Harbor Water Tower concert.
Okay.
Full band. We're going to rock it. Full 2-hour headlining concert. Bringing some buddies up from Nashville, some special guests too. So people will be excited. So it'll be a good time. I'm really excited for that one. So if you're around, that's July 16th.
July 16th. Okay. I'll keep it in mind. Might be there.
Heck yeah. Awesome, Brett.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it was great talking to you. Thanks.
Heck yeah. I'll see you. Good luck today.
All right. Thanks. You too.
See ya.